Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Steven. It's MTarget. And we're
Yo.
here to talk about Dota 2 and also a little bit of Fortnite. Just this one time. Say yo again, because I talked over you.
That's all good.
Yeah. You didn't say yo, though.
Yo.
Yeah. So we had a pretty big day in esports in general. At least in my mind. Mileage may vary. But in my mind, it was a pretty big day for esports, and that can largely be chalked up to the news that Ninja, the Fortnite player, Tyler Blevins, I think is his name, ended up on the cover. ESPN the Magazine. And on top of that, got a fair bit of coverage on actual television, on actual ESPN television, Sportscenter. And that's not a small thing when you consider ESPN's importance in the general worldwide sports scene and also the implications that it has for both raising awareness of esports with a mainstream populace that didn't necessarily know it exists, and also how important Ninja is singularly to esports itself. So we're going to talk about that and also some of the backlash to the news of Ninja being all over ESPN. On top of that, we are here to go ahead.
So I was going to say really quickly, is he actually the first gamer to be on the cover of ESPN? Because I thought that Faker was on the cover.
No, he got a big,
not in the same way, but I thought Faker was
in fact a big feature.
Yeah, I knew. Okay, so Faker just had the feature. Okay.
Yeah, that was the first big feature on esports from ESPN, but ESPN the Magazine is its own thing. And
okay,
yeah,
I say keeping track of some of these things is like the nuances are weird, and I respect the nuance. I just wanted to clarify because for those of you who don't know, and I don't want to shit on him too hard, but Ninja has bent the truth a couple times when it comes to some of these first of whatevers.
Yeah.
So no, I respect
his actual Steven media stuff.
Yeah.
I consume a great deal of sports media because it's part of my job, and yeah, but no, he actually did end up on the end of a big milestone today.
Okay.
But in terms of actual Dota 2 discussion, we are going to have some. The Kuala Lumpur Majors are going on, and we are about halfway through them. We have the results for South America, CIS, and China. We're going to talk about what we've seen so far and also kind of just generally how the actual qualifiers have looked. We had a little bit of a discussion on our last episode about the different Dota 2 regions, which one's the best, which one's the worst, and with an actual list of qualifier teams for each region, we can make more definitive statements about who has the best region, who has the worst region, who's in the middle, who's trending up, who's trending down, and all that other good stuff. So that's going to be on the docket for today. And I'm going to kick it off with Ninja. And like you said, Ninja gets out ahead of a lot of stuff, and he does inhabit kind of a unique space in terms of all of esports. Dendi is obviously the most famous Dota 2 player. But in terms of his actual importance to the entire Dota 2 sphere, like Dendi doesn't have a team right now. Dota 2's plugging on okay. Yep. I feel like if Ninja was kind of in a weird space, it'd be way bigger news in Fortnite.
Yeah, Ninja's this weird man, there's so many things that like, because I don't follow competitive Fortnite. I'm just going to put that out there right now. But I do know that from like everything else that I've seen him compete in, because I used to watch a fair amount of competitive Halo when he was in that. I watched him when he tried to be competitive in PUBG, all this other stuff. The thing for me is that he's like, yes, I can be a top player. I agree with that. He's been a top player in everything that he's been in. But he and a lot of people are saying that he's the greatest Fortnite player ever. One, I think that the way that BR games work, it's impossible to be the greatest. It's similar to being a poker player. You cannot simply be the greatest unless you have a significantly larger body of work than exists for Fortnite right now. So,
It's,
I
mean, yeah, poker is a good example.
Credit for being the greatest Fortnite streamer or whatever, sure, totally, and I respect that. But again, getting ahead of himself sometimes.
Yeah,
I
do. I mean, in general, I've discussed this before. Having that mentality of a competitor is really good for basically if you're going to be a pro in any kind of thing where there's a lot of competition, whether that's video games or whether that's, baseball or football. Like Joe Flacco, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, with a straight face said that he was better than both Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
I remember that. Oh, that was funny as shit. Because, I mean, he wasn't even in the conversation for being top 5 at that point.
Nah. I mean, to his credit, he does have a great outside, over-the-shoulder kind of pass, but...
He was top 10. He was not top 5.
I mean, the rings, yo. The rings. And also the stats. And also the complete lack of help that Tom Brady has gotten over his almost 20 years of helping the Patriots be a top-tier football team.
That's again, talk for another day.
But like I said, Joe Flacco had that mentality of, yes, I'm the best. And it wasn't true. But if you hooked him up to a lie detector, that thing probably wasn't shaking.
Nope, because he believed it.
And I'm sure Ninja does. And that's, like I said, that's the mindset.
The important part.
Yeah, that's the mindset you need to have if you're going to be at the top of anything. Yep. And he's at the top of Fortnite, at least in terms of like measurables.
Yeah.
And Fortnite is a weird game, like you mentioned. It's skill. It's got skill, but it also is pretty heavily luck. I mean, we've all played Fortnite, probably. A lot of you have played Fortnite at the very least, where, you'll end up doing everything right, but unfortunately, you'll end up in a situation where one guy's in front of you, one guy's behind you. You can kill one, and then the other will get you.
Yeah.
And...
And I think, and the bigger thing is that it's impossible to like, because there are very few solo tournaments, and quite frankly, solo is the least competitive format for a BR, just because you increase even more variables. Yeah. So, there's the argument of, oh, well, his teammates or whatever. No, but again, point being is he competes well. He definitely rode the wave of Fortnite to a point. Now he's transcended Fortnite. My favorite thing that he said is that he believes that he could be a top tier competitor in any game he plays, or is a top tier competitor in a game that he plays, and said that he could pick up any game and be on a top tier team pretty quickly. That was the one quote that I got out of the article that somebody sent me, and I laughed because he's like, I could be, top in Street Fighter. I can be top. And he actually cited fighting games. And I was like, yeah, okay.
But like I said, I smirk at that, you smirk at that, and we're right to smirk at it. But that's the mentality you got to have.
100%. I respect that mentality. But at the same time, I would love to see him try and play Dota up against Dendy. Give me a 1v1 mid.
And then OpenAI comes in and crushes both of them. But no, he has a good mentality. You got to see you got to see his mentality as a competitor, and you don't really get to see that with many people in esports generally. Never even mind, specifically a guy who is one of the most important figures in esports. I think we can all agree he is.
Yep.
And that's interesting. And on top of that, like we said, ESPN the Magazine cover, man, that's a huge deal. Just Absolutely. In general, we've only seen, off the top of my head, I think we've only seen 3 real features for esports in like all of ESPN. One on Faker, one on Giguri, the Woman Overwatch League, or Woman Overwatch Pro. And now Ninja, that's pretty good company. And the fact that, one of 3 from the worldwide leader in sports, all that is good stuff. And just in general, like you look at all the gaffes that PewDiePie ends up landing himself in, you look at all the gaffes that like Logan Paul ends up landing himself in, and stuff like Ninja has avoided stuff like that, and that's good.
I will say, I mean, obviously they both are a different level. Ninja has made some mistakes in the past. I'm not going to get into them. He's done some things that, whether or not they actually happened, some doxing and things like that when he was smaller and younger.
Yeah, that's not good.
Again, I'm not going to go into that. Obviously not good, but if he has managed to clean himself up when his biggest gaffe is him saying, I'm not going to play with any female streamers because I don't want to deal with that drama. And people are saying, come on, you have the chance to be bigger than that and better than that. He's in a good spot, and I will give him credit for that.
And even with that, I mean, his message wasn't even about the drama. It was more so about, like, I know that I'm not going to be able to basically stem the tidal wave of bad stuff that's hurled at female streamers and gamers in general. And he's right. Like,
yeah, I mean, and I get it to a point, but I do stand with a lot of those women who said, you are one of the few people who actually has a shot at stemming that. And because you didn't try to, and you backed out the way that you did, you helped solidify look, men and women can't be friends. They have to be more than that argument. And again, no, I'm not trying to bash on him for it. I just understand that
either way,
who think that he could take a stronger stand.
Like I said, this is tangential, but long story short,
sorry.
Long story short, we're not finding a bunch of N-words on his Twitter account.
True.
We're not finding he's not like actively being misogynistic to female streamers on his stream. He's not doing all these other he's not going into Japanese suicide forests. He's not doing all these other things that really big internet personalities keep doing that is stupid and makes everybody look bad. He's just in general been a great ambassador for esports as a whole. And yeah, this is a big deal. I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of this little glimpse into who he is. And granted, it's on, there are cameras on him, and he knows that there are cameras on him. I'm sure he's saying things that he thinks he should be saying.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything I saw, everything I read, I've liked. The one thing that is kind of silly, and this kind of comes anytime esports enters the mainstream, is basically a response from a lot of folks that, oh man, video games aren't sports, or something along the lines of, ha ha ha, video games are sports now. I guess that my playing Super Mario in college was, a missed opportunity on my part. And that, of course, brings then the opposite reaction of, well, what do you mean that esports aren't sports? So I wanted to just discuss that general phenomenon. And I wanted your take on it because I already have a pretty, I think, well-reasoned, well-informed take on this, just because I did this exact same thing with freaking MMA.
Yep.
So
I've got
on your soapbox.
I'm of two minds here. On the one hand, who gives a shit? Esports doesn't need to justify itself. Esports can be whatever it wants to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And
sports.
No, get out of here. And I also used to be in that camp of it's electronic sports. It is like sports because it's competing, blah, blah, blah. That's the way I used to be. And today I am in the one. If you can't see the comparison between esports and regular sports, you clearly don't understand what makes regular sports actually worth watching. Because it's about, seeing people compete at the peak or close to it or whatever in these ways, et cetera, et cetera. Sure, you might, prefer to watch, football versus golf or football versus lacrosse. You're allowed to understand or not like watching certain sports. That's totally fine. But most people tend to acknowledge the core sports as being sports. And I think that we are going to get to a point where at least people can accept esports as being competitive and requiring talent, skill, and perseverance. Whether or not it gets accepted as true sports, I don't give a shit.
Okay.
And that's basically where I'm at.
So, like I said, I've already crossed this bridge once before with MMA, which even now it's kind of debatable whether or not it's a sport in a traditional sense, but or whether it's a sport or sports entertainment, I should say, because it's obviously an athletic endeavor and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But whether or not it constitutes a sport, I don't know. I don't care. But that's kind of the big thing is we as a society kind of want to romanticize the idea of sports.
Yep. I agree with that 100%.
Which is kind of ridiculous because ultimately sports is just like a single genre of entertainment. And when you really boil it down, esports and any given sport is a children's game that is played for money. Basketball was created to keep kids busy during rainy days in gym class.
I thought it was snowy days.
It doesn't matter.
I don't know. It was invented in Connecticut by a white guy, which I just think is hilarious, but I digress.
It was also dominated by Jews for a solid for the first half of its existence. Fun fact. But anyway, it was invented as a way to keep children busy during gym class. I don't think anybody would question whether or not it's a sport now because it's played for money.
And it's also really young. Like that's something that we, I mean, in the big picture, it's young. It's not like, you know, lacrosse or soccer where you can literally trace those back to 300-400 years ago.
Or wrestling where you can trace it back to like 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
No, not 5,000, like 3,000 years ago.
You can literally record it to the earliest moments of recorded history. So yeah, 5,000 years ago.
Okay. But yeah, so
it's not as a sport necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, long story short, sports are children's games that are played for money. And that applies to basketball. That applies to Fortnite. That applies to Dota 2. That applies to baseball.
It may or may not technically apply to Quake.
That's not a sport. That's for losers.
I was going to say more from the standpoint of like games that are like mature.
No. Either way.
I jest.
Yeah, that's also tangential. But long story short, it's a game that's played for money. And, you know, people, again, just in general, people want to romanticize the idea of sports and consider it like a noble endeavor or really get caught up in the tribalism that ultimately really defines what sports is. Yep. It's a tribal thing. You want to vicariously say that you are better than another region, whether that's Boston versus New York in literally anything, or it's, you know,
DC versus Dallas in football.
Or if you want to get really ugly, James Jeffries versus Jack Johnson, where it was the Great White Hope versus the Black Champion. Like it's all tribal and it's all ugly and it's all bad, and we as a society have enjoyed it for thousands of years. And like I said, we ultimately want to romanticize it, but it's still just games played for money. Or in the case of the Olympics, games played for the hope of money or glory or something that we as a society deem worthy of striving towards. And just in general, like I said, it's a genre of entertainment, and we shouldn't take entertainment so seriously.
Yep.
Man only suffers because he takes seriously what the gods made for fun. So you're suffering if you complain about whether or not people think esports is sports.
Yep. So
don't do that. Because ultimately it's not that important. Because sports aren't that important. Because entertainment is not that important. When you really boil down any form of entertainment, it's kind of stupid. We watch people pretend to be fantasy characters, and then we buy House Stark banners to put on our wall. And that's stupid. But goddamn it, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones Season 8 just like y'all.
I'll just watch it a little bit later.
Yeah, I'll probably watch it after it's... I'll probably wait until... I'll try and fail to avoid spoilers.
Yep.
And then borrow the DVDs from a friend. Either way, sports are entertainment. Entertainment is stupid. So why do you care? And yeah, that's, I think, where we should leave our discussion of Ninja. And now let's go over to actual Dota 2. We are the best Dota 2 podcast. I'm pretty sure we're the only Dota 2 podcast.
At the moment, yeah, because BTS isn't even a Dota 2 podcast anymore.
We're the best. We're the best. We're the best and only Dota 2 podcast. And if anybody else makes a podcast on Dota 2, you should probably be paying us royalties because we invented it. But also, like, asterisk, I totally stole that exact line from a dude named Ryan Loco in the realm of MMA. So don't fire me for plagiarism because it was totally his gimmick. Kuala Lumpur Major going on. And so far, like I said, we've got through the CIS, the China, and the South America qualifiers. We're still waiting on the results from North America, Europe, and Southeast Asia. And for anybody who hasn't seen the results yet, Virtus Pro and Furzy are the winners of CIS. Virtus Pro, y'all know Virtus Pro. Y'all don't know Furzy. Furzy includes a bunch of journeymen from the CIS region. Some new blood in there, some old blood. Actual players include Daxak, Afo Ninja, Afterlife, King R, and Vanscore. Like Vanscore, he's been around for a good long while now. He's been on pretty much every CIS organization you can think of. Flipside, Team Spirit, Gambit, Empire, Navi, CIS Rejects, Four Clovers, and Leprechaun. Everybody.
If you played on Four Clovers, you are officially
yeah. Afterlife, same general idea. Team Spirit, Team Empire, Friends, CIS Rejects, those affect. And then there are a couple newer guys mixed in, but they qualified. Kind of a really good underdog win for them. In CIS, you could reasonably have penciled in Espada, Windstrike, Navi.
Espada looked like shit, though, man.
They did look like shit, but they looked good enough in the qualifiers that
I mean, Espada looked like they deserved to be there, but then they just played.
Yeah, but if you're going to list who you think is going to win first, he's pretty close to the bottom. I'd bet.
I know. I agree with that.
Considering that they were the last place team and the second open qualifier, on paper they were the worst ones there, and they did the damn thing. And yeah, Virtus Pro, no surprise there. I don't need to tell any of y'all what they do. China, PSG LGD, first place. Second place, Vici Gaming. Third place, Team Aster. No real big surprise there. Team Aster, for anybody who doesn't remember, we discussed them last week briefly. Siler, D-Stones, XXS, Baboka, Fenrir. Lots of veterans of the Chinese scene there. Lots of guys who have proven themselves on the biggest stages possible. Really good really good on paper team. Not really a huge surprise that they ended up qualifying, even if you didn't have them listed. The quote-unquote surprise there was Newbie washing out really early. Even then, that kind of comes with, okay, you look at who they played against. They lost in the upper bracket to Vici Gaming. Then they lost in the lower bracket to Team Serenity. No real shame there. People were surprised by it, but like I said, no real shame there. Vici Gaming got shaken up a bit. Or actually, no, they got quite shaken up in the fall shuffle. Ended up fielding a solid team on paper, though. Paparazzi, Ori, Yang, Fade, DY. Lots of established talent there. They're a good team, and no real surprise that they won. And in South America, Pain Gaming ended up re-signing Skull, which was the old Pain Gaming plus Misery stack. They're back under the team under the Pain Gaming banner. Second place, more surprisingly, is a new team called Pain X, which is owned by Pain Gaming, but includes Ritsu, CCNC, 4DR, Francis Lee, and Leposa. That is 2 Brazilian players alongside 3 American players, United Statesian players. And you can't argue with the results. It was a Pain Gaming versus Pain Gaming final to the South America region. It's a little bit interesting that in this time where teams are supposed to be getting away from owning multiple teams per the Valve DPC rules, that Pain Gaming is actually buying into 2 teams. But yeah.
Remember, they are technically only allowed 1 team at TI.
Yes.
So fielding 2 teams here, not the worst option when you know that you're only going to get 1 to TI coming out of South America. Like, let's be honest here.
I like that
for them to get both of them to TI, we've gone over this, because of the way that South America is set up, they need to both qualify.
Yep. And they're going to have that opportunity because majors, you have 2 teams from each region. Yeah. And bless your hearts, Brax Stone, but I don't think you got it.
Nope.
Bless your hearts, Infamous. Nah. And Thunder Predator. Yeah, 3 you don't have Liquipedia pages, so yeah, it's decent chance that Pain Gaming is going to get in, but I am with you in terms of being honest that they're going to get into every tournament probably,
and they're not
going to win many of them.
I expect to see them at TI. I expect to see a Pain Gaming. It's just, is it Pain Gaming or Pain Gaming X? And we were talking about this off air or before the show started. Pain Gaming can afford 2 teams because Pain, just to list off some of the bigger sponsors. Okay, they got Twitch, they got SanDisk, they got Monster Energy, they got Razer. Okay, whatever. Then they have Samsung. Then they have Lacta 5-Star, which is the equivalent of like Hershey's or Mars. Big ass chocolate company. And then they're also sponsored by Trident Gum.
Yeah, they've got actual
some money.
Real life sponsors.
Yeah, no, Pain Gaming is the like Brazilian equivalent of TSM.
Yeah, they like you said, they can afford to have 2 Dota 2 teams. Like just kind of funny that they're buying in at this weird time. Plus, like I mentioned, they can reasonably expect to have both of those teams qualify for any tournaments they want. At least in the DPC. I mean, we see like with ESL1 Hamburg, which is a thing, that there are going to be non-Dota Pro Circuit events that are not necessarily going to adhere to the you must have 2 South American teams rule that DPC events are going to have. So they're not going to get into every tournament, but they will get into every DPC tournament, and that's going to bring in some money. And yeah, those are the teams that have qualified for the Kuala Lumpur Major. Any general observations you have from the event so far? We mentioned Espada looking pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah. That's the big thing. This is Espada. Like I looked at them, like, okay, like, and they just did not look as good as they could have. Quite frankly. And whatever. It is what it is. My favorite thing, was it Espada or who does BZZ play for right now?
Don't know.
33. Because I remember watching. Was he Espada? Yeah, he's on Espada. And everybody was losing their minds because he had the golden Pugna set.
Really?
But people don't realize that because he's playing under the tag 633. Because 633 looks very similar to BZZ in Russian.
Cyrillic.
Because it's Cyrillic. Well, BZZ, Russian, Cyrillic, whatever. You get the point. And so he is literally, his signature hero is Pugna. That set was made for him. The golden set was made for him and given to him. So like all of my because I follow several like highlight channels on YouTube because they actually make some half decent content, not just Noob for UA ripping it. And 2 or 3 of them are like the $10,000 set. I'm like, okay, y'all need to calm down. This guy did not spend 10 grand on a set. Valve gave it to him because it is literally his set.
Yeah.
But I thought it was funny because people kept giving BZZ Pugna. and he kept kicking their ass. But then the rest of Espada fell around, and I kept watching, going, why are you giving Espada Pugna? Like, especially because they were the games they would win. It's like, just ban the little alien. Just accept it. Ban him. Move on.
Yeah, it's just in general, I'm kind of really liking where CIS is at, and we'll go into more depth about this later.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Furzy on paper was the worst team at the CIS qualifiers, and they made their way through a pretty stiff set of opponents. Like their actual playoff run, they went through the entire lower bracket. They beat Na'Vi, they beat Windstrike, they beat Espada, they beat Team Spirit, and then they lost to Virtus Pro. But yeah, that's a team, again, it's got a lot of veteran talent.
They took Virtus Pro to game 3.
And they did take Virtus Pro to game 3. But yeah, it's a team with a lot of veteran talent. It's got some young talent, but it's mostly veteran talent. And they managed to get through a team that, Windstrike, some people were picking them to win TI.
What?
Some people did. But the fact that they beat a TI team, a pretty good team on paper in Na'Vi, another pretty good team on paper in Team Spirit, and then again, did take a game off of Virtus Pro. That's something.
Okay, so I just would like to share the 2 lineups for the game. Oh my god. The Virtus Pro Furzy series. I might need to go back and watch this.
Yeah, that was
on every single game, and he won every single game. Match number 1, the winning team was Legion Commander, Venomancer, Techies, which went 3-16-12, by the way, Bounty Hunter, and Silencer.
That sounds like a really bad pub team.
Against, it gets worse, Riki,
like a 2K pub team.
Earthshaker, Pudge, Sand King, and Shadow Shaman.
Okay, that sounds like a 2K game.
It really does. And then game 2 was Techies, Shaker, Weaver, Earth Spirit, Broodmother beating Pudge, Nature's Prophet, Invoker, Leshrak, and Rubik. It's like neither of these teams wanted to actually play, and maybe they didn't care. But the last game looked a little bit more reasonable. Techies, Kunkka, Ursa, Terrorblade, Shadow Demon versus a Clockwork, Io, Alchemist, Pango, Lycan game.
Random aside, for that Virtus Pro game where it was Riki, Earthshaker, Pudge, Sand King, and Shadow Shaman, it was a core Earthshaker and a core Pudge. Just making sure everybody knows that.
Yeah, because Solo played Riki.
Yeah.
And Solo is,
Solo's their 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah. The fact that Ramses, that was what I mean, and it was over in 18 minutes. Like, they GG'd out actually. But yeah, it was a cluster.
I should note that because of how the qualifiers set up, those games technically didn't matter. We didn't see. It's not like we saw Techies every game, but I think that the early picks of Pudge Techies in every game was kind of a we're playing for funsies. So but Furzy good. Virtus Pro still got it.
Yeah, Virtus Pro still got the memes.
Yep, CIS. I'm liking it.
Yeah, I like CIS too here.
China. I mean, it's there's still so much depth there, even though we kind of saw, even though China had a really bad TI8, you just look at the list. Like I said, Team Aster had to get through open qualifiers, and that's a team again: Siler, D-Stones, XXS, Baboka, Fenrir. If y'all don't know those names, y'all haven't been watching Dota 2 that long, because those are some of the best players we've seen. That is a group of very good players. Those are guys who have been to the grand finals of TI8. In the case of Fenrir, those are guys who have been deep in a number of different majors like Baboka. Those are guys like Siler who have just been basically in every TI. Well, not really, but he's been in a lot of TIs. He was on the good years, the best years of LGD gaming before they became PSG LGD. Like, he's been around for a long time, and he's been very good for a long time. This is a super talented team that had to make its way through motherfucking open qualifiers because China's that deep. It's that deep.
Really, all there is to it.
And yeah. And that kind of brings us to our third topic of who is the actual best Dota 2 region. And it's not exactly a scientific measurement.
Especially right now.
But we do have all the different regions with a set of 8 teams in the qualifiers. And again, not scientific, but that's, you know, a measure you can use of who the 8 best teams are in each region. So do you want to go region by region or just give general thoughts?
Let's do general thoughts. Like, I mean, we could do region by region, but I also don't want to, like,
all right, best region.
2 more hours. Oh my God, why you gotta do me like that? Best region or most competitive region? Because I think there's a difference. Best region. Woo.
It's Europe, right?
I'm like 90% sure it's Europe, but there's this little nagging feeling of it might be China. Like, I think it's Europe, China, but China barely does beat out CIS. Like, I really do think that CIS is up there. As much as it looked like an absolute cluster, the way that the games were played,
we've been swearing up a storm already. You can say clusterfuck.
Well, I didn't actually mean clusterfuck though. I meant cluster. There's a slight difference.
Oh, okay.
So
it is a clusterfuck though.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, on the one hand, CIS 100% does not qualify for like conversation for number 1 right now. But at the same time, I feel like they kind of justify a little bit of conversation, but not a whole lot.
An honorable.
But yeah, no, definitely Europe, followed by China. Because North America is not in my conversation for strongest region right now.
North America?
No, not my strongest region.
Well, no, it shouldn't be, because it should be in the conversation for worst region.
I was gonna say, yeah, but Europe definitely. I mean, you look at China, and I mean, ignoring the fact that like you've got some baller ass brands on there, China just looks deep.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I would put my bottom region to be a discussion between Southeast Asia and North America.
Well, if you
with South America just above it. To be perfectly honest, I think that might, because my top, because I've got CIS or Europe, China, CIS, and I've got 3 regions left.
Yeah, I would definitely agree that Europe and China.
China, CIS is still below them, but I think CIS is basically better than everything else that's right there. Partially because we haven't seen enough of the qualifiers aren't done yet, so fine.
Yeah,
but
yeah, for those who haven't paid any level of attention, the actual European lineup of teams, and this is excluding TI8 winners OG, because they're not participating in the Kuala Lumpur Major because they got real life shit to do. Team Liquid, sleeping, probably like get a bank account. Like I said, like we said last week, there's a decent chance that 18-year-old Thompson didn't even have a bank account before TI8.
Mom, can you cash this check for me?
Yeah, basically.
Mom's like, yeah, sure. I'm gonna run away real quickly while I'm at it.
Yeah, cash it and then divorce your son. But anyway, Team Liquid, Team Secret, Alliance, Ninjas in Pajamas. By the way, the PPD stack is now Ninjas in Pajamas. They're back in the Dota 2 business after having a highly unsuccessful Swedish team.
We can talk about that if we want to.
Nah,
not really. Yeah,
I mean, we'll probably touch on that later, where I'll either be doom and gloom or everything is rosy. Yeah. But anyway, those were the invited teams. The open qualifier teams are Team Lithium, which has a couple of the different members of the ex-Advenem team. Also,
it's Advenem meets Kezu stack smashed together.
Yeah, basically. A new team in Major Atendari, which was a
Bulgarian
team.
Bulgarian.
Okay, yeah. So it's a Bulgarian team with a Russian dude. None of them have Wikipedia pages, but hey, they made it through open qualifiers, so they must be doing something right. Mango Bay, which is that Garter Bone 7 Fae group from Europe. We'll see how they shake out. And then Final Tribe, which is the post-Alliance other Swedish team. The one that actually has 5 Swedish players now because the Alliance isn't doing that anymore. So all of those, like, Mango Bay and the Bulgarian team are the two kind of X factors because we don't really know how good they are. But
you could also substitute either of them for OG in your top 8 discussion. So
yeah, either way, that even if you don't, that's a pretty darn good lineup relative to some of the other regions.
And some of these names, because I watched a little bit of Open Qualifier number 1 and caught major attenders. They look good. They looked like they deserve to be up there, which is okay. It's the top of Open Qualifiers. I'm really saying that much, but yeah.
I mean, you should note that the Open Qualifiers did have some actual teams with people that you've heard of. Like Happy Guys was in there, and they got Illidan and Cinderin.
They had Burden United, who are surprisingly good tier 2 team. Arc, Mastermind, Pwn, Undershock, and Come With Me. Yeah. Unless you pay attention to tier 2, you're not going to know them, but they are big deals.
Well, reasonably large.
As big a deal as you can be in tier 2.
Yeah. So they had competition.
Yeah, and that was just in the quarters. So
yeah,
quarters and beyond.
Yeah. So Europe looking pretty darn good. North America is my take on it. Don't need words, but
yeah, EG, Complexity, Team, Skr, March Out of Army. I mean, we talked about this last week.
Yeah, it's looking honestly, pretty ugly.
My biggest excitement for this whole thing is the fact that we've got a new org in Forward Gaming, and they actually have a half decent logo for a new org.
It's always a good thing.
So and
also Forward Gaming is it's a new organization that signed the ex VG Gaming J Storm team plus Universe.
And they may or may not have bought them from VG J Storm. I mean, there's a lot of questions about how that went down, and I'm not gonna knock them for buying or not buying.
Well, that's the business.
Them out. Well, no, from the standpoint of did they buy them from VGJ when VGJ needed to drop them, or did they risk it and take them after the fact or what? And it doesn't matter because like you said, it's the business. And I think right now the players are in California, but the organization is, because I want to say they were playing at the Beyond the Summit House. But Forward Gaming is supposed to be based in New York, and they're actually trying to build a city type deal. Which, hey, if you can make it work, NYC is not the city I would have picked.
Yeah, but it's interesting to have another team. Also, random note: Fear is actually unretiring, quote unquote, to play. What? Huh?
I missed this. Keep talking. Go.
He is going to be. He's just the stand-in, so don't get too excited. He's going to be a stand-in for Complexity Gaming, returning to Complexity Gaming after 12 years away to sub in for Skimberloo, who is having visa issues.
Dude, that's weird.
Yeah, isn't it weird?
Also, it's weird to go back and read. It's been a while, but I forgot that Fear, when he first started playing, was back plug pullers in 05 to 06. And it was the first sponsored Dota team, Dota 1. And this team was then picked up by Complexity. And it was him, Merlini, and Demon.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
So, something in my studio is echoing, and it's really freaking me out. But, yeah, it's weird to think that, Demon's still... I guess he officially retired on June 1st.
I mean,
but Homeboy's retired before, so I don't know if I believe that.
You can go back in time, and Jesus Christ, some of these old teams from 2010 are crazy. I just pulled up a Fear's page, and then I went into the Online Kingdom page, and the Nirvana International 2010 squad: Demon, Fear, Korok, Puppy, AZEN. That's something. On their list of former players, Kuroki, March, and Merlini. Merlini, by the way, left Online Kingdom to join SK Gaming.
The throwback is real.
Yeah. But anyway, so that is Fear returning to Complexity for the first time since 2006. Back when Dota 1 was in its heyday. So yeah, that's something.
But yeah, no, it's always interesting to throw back a little bit.
Anyway.
And do where are they now? But anyways, back to reality here.
Yeah, North America sucks. Long story short.
Like, the fact that I'm actually genuinely more excited about South America than North America is a bad thing. Like, well, no, it's a bad thing to a degree. Because, like, on the one hand, I 100% admit that I probably overrate South America 90% of the time.
Oh, yeah, you do.
100% I own that I do overrate them 90% of the time. But
Mr.
I think
TNC is going to win TI7.
Remember, TNC is not South America. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I know, but it does speak to your ability to double down on crappy teams.
Yes, 100%. If you go back and watch that VOD, I said as much. I said this is doubling down on a crappy team because if it doesn't happen, it's, well, yeah, it didn't happen. But if it does happen, it's going to feel really damn good.
But anyway, I mean, yeah, you can't say that that South America is going to be better than North America when North America has one team that's definitely, at least right at this second, a top tier team in Evil Geniuses, and also a team that might be a top tier team in Forward Gaming, because VG Gaming J Storm did look good enough at TI.
Oh, 100%. Like, if I'm just taking the top two teams, like just the top two from every region, then I've got EG and Forward Gaming, and my NA goes way back up. But when NA includes EG, Forward Gaming, Complexity, and then 6 stacks, or 5 stacks.
Yeah,
sorry, basically 5 stacks. And in South America, it's not as bad because you've got Thunder Predator, WP Gaming, Gorilla's Pride, Infamous. So your only random stacks are Brackstone and Astini. Whether or not you want to call Pain X a stack or Pain Gaming, the different question. But like, you have legitimate orgs, legitimate-ish. Gorilla's Pride, yeah, they are technically an org. They're just a really small one.
Yeah. We also definitely could see North America get blown up. We are almost definitely going to see South America get blown up more. Like, if there's any region that can contest North America in terms of the stacks come together and then immediately disband, it's South America, where, if you'll remember, we did have a team quit in the middle of, I think, a Majors qualifier.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Oh, no, I 100% agree. I just think that the other thing that we theoretically could see is a roster picking up Pain X and flying their asses to the US and saying, congratulations, you're a North American team now. Because all you have to do is get 40R and Laposa. Visa. There we go.
I mean, Ninjas in Pajamas could do that with the PPD stack.
No, they're keeping them in Europe.
For now. If Evil Geniuses and Forward Gaming both break up, you don't think that they'd be willing to send them over to North America? Because that's low-hanging money.
I'm not disagreeing that it's not low-hanging money, but the problem with Ninjas in Pajamas is that they built so much brand pressure on Europe, that I don't see that org going back to America, because they tried that once in Counter-Strike, and it went horribly a long time ago.
I mean, you're right, but I also think that more so than caring about their brand for their Dota 2 team necessarily is they probably like money more. And
I
there's still
still
going to
disagree
be
with that, but again, like I don't know, and I'm a little bit hesitant to say, oh yeah, they'll go to America, especially with the way that visas are right now, because you've got to get them to America to compete, because you know that these guys are not going to try and compete against West Coast teams on that kind of
be
thing.
playing
That's
on
not happening.
They could also go to Canada.
Can they?
Why not?
That's true. Actually, I think because another thing about I think one NA team that's all American players, or it's like America plus one, is actually competing in its Complexity. I think because they're in Canada right now.
Yeah,
because Complexity is in Canada because Limp couldn't get a U.S. U.S. visa, or something weird like that.
Yeah, America's not doing so well long term for esports right now.
Dude, we are. Would you please adopt me already?
Hey, I mean, my wife has friends, but they're all taken at the moment.
I wish that I could say I had not actually seriously considered that at one point. I had a friend who was single in Canada, and she almost we joked about it to the point where it wasn't totally a joke anymore, and then it got weird.
I can see that getting weird.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I can attest to the fact that it's great up here. It's great up here. Like, yeah, Canada's great. And you should move here if you have the opportunity and you're from America, because whether you're in esports or life in general, you get out. You want to get out. But anyway, North America sucks. The thing that I'm really interested in is Eternal Envy as captain from a support position. Finally, like, really interesting as a whole. Really interested in seeing how that or Complexity Gaming is interesting as a whole. Really interested in seeing how that specifically works out for EE. I think I'm really curious as to how much of an actual handicap him captaining from a carry position was, because again, you look at Team NP, which was really like more than Fnatic, even that was EE's team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was 5 guys who we liked playing with. And again, they didn't win any LANs. They didn't, they washed out a TI early, this, that, the other thing. But when you really look at their overall body of work, it was pretty darn solid. They got top 4 at a bunch of different tournaments. They qualified for the Boston Major. They were only around for a year, but they did pretty well. And that was with EE playing captain as a mid for most of it. And I'm really curious as to whether he's secretly been a really good in-game shot caller who has been handicapped by playing core for the last 5 years. Really interested to see how that goes. And I'm also somewhat curious about March Out of Army. For those who don't remember, that is Moo, the former offlaner for Digital Chaos, Bryle, Forev, Milan, and March. March, if you don't remember, was the face of MVP Phoenix, but also just the best Korean Dota 2 player for a solid 7 years before MVP Phoenix really got big around 2015.
7 years?
I mean, he was on that Nirvana international team with Fear and
yeah, all right.
and stuff. Like, he didn't have much competition, but he was there before everybody else. So I'm interested to see, just in general, a veteran of the scene playing alongside some other journeymen, more or less, but still a talented team. And I'm interested in that stack. Long story short. And yeah, definitely. And that's more intrigue than most regions, but in terms of guarantees, North America.
Intrigue does not make you a strong region. It makes you a competitive region, maybe. It makes you an interesting region. But like I said, the fact that I've got you very solidly at the bottom, if not the actual bottom, not that good look, friends.
No. Southeast Asia.
Again, their peak is higher, but I think that they bottom out a whole lot lower than everybody else too. Just because, again, they don't have that strength of depth.
Southeast Asia, honestly, I think might be a lot shakier than we're giving it credit for, but also might pan out really good.
Yeah. Honestly, the four invited teams, Mineski, TNC, Execration, and Fnatic, all of them are teams that I could see either, okay, holding up, sticking out good long term, or just absolutely detonating after this. My number one team that is at risk, my sort of at risk team here is Fnatic. Because if Fnatic does not do well here, I see Ice saying, fuck this again and leaving.
Yeah. For the current Fnatic kind of got blown up after TI8, for those who don't remember. Pylai Die, Universe, Eternal Envy all went. Abed and DJ stayed. The gaps were plugged by MP, formerly of MVP Phoenix, more recently formerly of Immortals. He's their carry. Ice is their offlaner, and Jabs steps in. Jabs was on the really good Mineski team last year. Meanwhile, Mineski is honestly really, really good on paper, I would say. It's got JT, Moon, KP, Febby, and Mushi.
Yeah, that's another one of those Mushi. That's another one of those carry players going to support that I look forward to seeing. But actually, hang on, because Fnatic just won a game. Who did they just play? If y'all don't have the time,
and I should note, Tigers is a team.
TNC Predator just beat Low Tech.
Yeah.
If you all don't on Twitter, if you don't have time to watch the games, at Auto Dota, that's AUTO Dota, Auto Dota stats, at the end of every game, it automatically generates this image and prints it out, and it's a great end game recap. Nice and clean. It's not quite as good as the track Dota stuff, but it also has to be a single image, not a whole page. And if you're somewhere where you can keep a screen open but not watch the game, trackdota.com is great. Note, I am not sponsored by Dota Buff, although I do
wish I was. Personally.
Yes, I wish we were. And I do know the founders of Dota Buff, but we are not currently or have ever been.
You're not affiliated in any business sense.
No.
But anyway, Southeast Asia, the team I'm really super interested in is Tigers, because they played in the Southeast Asia qualifiers. They worked their way in through the open qualifiers, and they basically kind of walked in and almost won the damn thing. Like, that team looked pretty darn good with no reps. Like I said, they basically just got slapped together and then put out there. And that team the team as it stands right now is Ajit, In Your Dream, Moonmeander, Zephyr, and 1437 / Theban / Rose / etc.
I Will Always Love You.
Yes.
Or what? No, that's not what it stands for.
I don't know, but he's got a bunch of different names, and he's been on a lot of different good teams. And like I said, the TNC Tigers team looked really good with no practice, and they arguably got upgraded when they ended up replacing. Let me pull up who their actual players were: KYXY and 458. When they replaced them with Moonmeander and Ajit, like that's a pretty darn good team on paper. So I'm really interested to see if they end up panning out to be good. And I mean, you got to be a fan of Rose / 1437. Like, you just got to be. Like and yeah, like you said, we could absolutely see Southeast Asia get completely exploded and none of these teams existing in a month. Or we could end up seeing a really good region.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Also, should plug Lotac, which exists. Raven, Chiwan, Ohio, Yamate, AU. That's a lot of good players.
And remember, this is Chuan, the
yes,
not Chuan, but Chiuan, who is Malaysian player who's really had my interest on and off since late 2017 when he got picked up by Warriors Gaming. But he was also most notably on Geek Fam.
Yeah, back when Geek Fam had like a really hot 6 months or so.
Yep. Basically when he was on the team.
Basically.
But God,
I also say really hot, but that's kind of like they did well at those like Southeast Asia regional lands
they
and
won a
also
bunch of minors in Southeast Asia, but
they won them.
Yeah, but they won them.
And
the thing that makes me feel old though is this kid is only 18 years old.
Man, fucking Thompson is a multimillionaire, and he's 18
man. I don't
years
want to think about Thompson right now.
Yeah, we've talked about every region now.
Yep, we've talked about everybody. It's all over. Wrap it up. Go home.
Do we actually want to wrap it up? Do we got any other stuff we want to talk about?
That's the thing is, I don't think we do.
It is kind of a slow week.
Yeah. I mean, we did talk a lot about Ninja.
Yeah.
I honestly, right now, I just want to say go turn on SEA, and then watch EU tomorrow morning and watch NA tomorrow night. It's gonna be good, and I also think that, quite frankly, the way that this minor is looking like it could end up getting stacked, minor could be a lot of fun to watch in that like bad MMA style that you were talking about before, where like you could get some cluster.
It's going to be some sloppy fun.
And there's going to be some sloppy shit. But you will also have those teams that rise up and then prove, like, yes, we do, in fact, deserve to be at the major as the wild card team.
Yeah. Also going to be very interested to see. Do we actually have any motherfucking details on that minor yet?
I don't think we do, which is like kind of a problem.
Yeah, because, I mean, fucking the Kuala Lumpur Major takes place early November. Which would mean this minor, I would assume, would be taking place late October, aka a month from now.
AKA hello.
AKA, yeah. How about we get some actual like a date and location for it, please? Yeah. So that's kind of worrisome, and also kind of speaks to my worries about the new Dota Pro circuit setup.
Which sucks, because like if they had announced, like, let's pretend that they announced when Kuala Lumpur Major was announced, they say, all right, here's the major, here's the corresponding minor. The corresponding minor is going to be held in the same country. It's going to be held in a different country. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Just announce them. For all that we know, I'm sorry, I am very much in a gesticulation mood. Like ESL1 Hamburg would have been a great minor.
Yeah,
other than the fact that there is no way in hell that ESL is going to let an ESL1 tournament be a minor. Like, if you look at the ESL1 brand, it is all about being either a major or its own fucking thing.
Yep.
You know, Counter-Strike, I refuse to watch because of who they continue to hire, but they are separate enough that I will give Dota a pass.
Well, I mean, you kind of have to watch ESL1 Dota tournaments because those are big deals.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be talking about Dota, you kind of have to watch the big deals. But yeah, I mean, I was just saying mid-late October is when the minor needs to take place. We motherfucking have that's taking ESL1 Hamburg
championship in Hamburg.
Yeah, ESL1 Hamburg taking place 10/23 to 10/28. And gotta imagine that there's gonna be some toes being stepped on there between those two tournaments. And I mean, they are already sending out direct invites. So like, I guess that really 100% closed the door on it being a minor.
Yep.
Because I mean, maybe Valve was trying to hammer something out behind the curtain, but it's not happening now. Unless ESL just kind of goes like, sorry, Virtus Pro, EG's Team Secret, and Mineski and Ninjas in Pajamas. And I sincerely doubt that's going to happen. They're a professional outfit.
Yeah.
Who should sponsor us? And yeah, so whatever. That's
It'll be interesting to see what happens, but yeah.
Yeah, you might want to hammer this shit out soon, Valve.
Volvo, please.
Volvo, please. So yeah, that's it. Everybody like, comment, subscribe.
That's the show. Everybody go home.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter. You can tweet at us. Links in the description. We're going to respond because we don't get enough notifications to ignore you. And yeah, everybody have a great week. Have a great weekend, and tune in next time.